Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lie.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Yo, 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 yo. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Let me get this right. Happy Friday, good people. How's everybody? I hope well. Don't know why my camera switched up on me. There we go. How's everybody doing? How was your week? How was your Thanksgiving? Shout outs to my poets, my writers, my content creators. You know the vibe. I want to say thank you first and foremost before we jump into this. I got Coach in the building. I have a clip that I'm going to bring up here. It's a serious matter. And we got to talk about it. Just big thank you to everybody who has been supporting the channel over the last year plus. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. As we continue to grow and build, I hope and pray that these conversations don't go unnoticed, that the message sticks where it needs to. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. I'm gonna bring brother up here. Yo, what up?
Yo, good evening. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
Man, feeling great, feeling fine. Was able to get a workout in after this morning's pod, man, and burn off some of that turkey. How about you?
Right on, about the same. I took a little time to kind of reset, because you sit here as long as I do, you kind of get your legs fall asleep on you, and you gotta stretch them out and stuff. So I had to step away from it for a bit, but I'm good.
Nah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. How's the weather out there, man? The weather's kind of getting kind of crazy everywhere. How's it treating you out there?
Oh, I've been waiting on it. It's brisk. It's chilly. Some people don't like the cold. I don't mind it.
Right.
Yeah. This my season. This my weather. I was born in the wintertime, so
Nah, I feel you. I enjoy it too, man. Bringing that fresh air, bringing some change, and you get throwing a little layers. You know what I mean? Lay it up a little bit. Always good.
right on, right on. Hey, look, I'm gonna bring this up on the big screen, man. You had a chance to see it. I want to share it with the people so they know what we about to address here, and we'll just go from there.
All right, let's get it.
I'm at 6 years old, for sure.
How does a 6-year-old get a gun in Baltimore?
I mean, it's easy. It's super easy. Probably by your brother.
I came into his life 2 years ago, going on 3. He was a little menace around here. There's not a gun you can ask him about he don't know about. Always carried guns, right? One day, you tell him what happened.
I seen him walking up the street with all these brothers for real. They was talking to me. They had gave me a lot of money and stuff. I went home, busted down with my people for real. He had told me to come back later on to come see him for real. Boom. I came back later on that day, had a gun on me. All the older dudes, they was showing me all the bad stuff, showing me the wrong routes. He was like, you know, you risking like what's going on. He said like, you gotta take it off of you. I wasn't taking it off me. I goes back. I tried going to alley somewhere and tuck it some more, thinking I was slip. I come back. He checked me again. He still found it for real. He hollered at me. He like, you still bring it back for real. Took me to the water. I had to throw my gun for real. I didn't want to do it. I told him I wasn't doing it at first. But he had hold me. He like, I got you. Like, I'm riding behind you. Like, once you throw this gun, I'm with you all the way. Like, you gotta let it go. So I let it go. And now we here. And now this my gun, you heard me. This my switch. And when I had a flash on there, it's definitely gonna blind you. Like, I'm telling you, like, you can get your first gun.
Yeah. 6 years old, black man, black kid in the United States of America. The language, the lingo, the attitude. You got one side that's telling you no, you got the other side that's telling you this is all you're ever going to know. This is what you have to adapt to. This is your life. Then you have another generation of men who's trying to pull you out of it. This was sad to watch. This ain't even the first time I've come across videos like this. What was your thoughts, man, initially when you watched this video?
Man, I won't say that I was sad, man. I'll say that I thought it was I thought just looking at that young man and listening to him talk and share his story, and then making the conscious decision, because he sounded like he had an old head that was able to provide some guidance. And the young man was smart enough to he tried to hide it, but even though him trying to hide it, you can still tell that he had good intentions and that he wanted to be a better version of himself, so that he stayed open-minded. That's what I took from it. So no matter what the circumstances of the situation was, he was at least open-minded. Now, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you know, based on the lifestyle, it's a reason why he probably had to tuck it or hide it in the alley or think about keeping it on him. But at least he was open-minded to allow that old gentleman an opportunity to provide him a different direction. That's what I took from it.
I think it's sad to me, just off of the strength that the ones that's talking to him doing the opposite, they wish that somebody would have done for them what the OG did for him, and they didn't get it. And you see it so much. They act out of anger and they dedicate their life to a code that is designed to put them all in prison or in the ground. It's like how do you not want better for the generation after you? You know what I'm saying? Someone at his age, he knows right from wrong, and he's probably struggling with, I don't want to do this. I don't know if there's another out source for me to go because everything that I'm around is so negative. He's lucky and he's really blessed that he had somebody around him to take him in a different direction. What do you think is one of the main reasons why in our culture that lifestyle is so celebrated and it's so high on our list of importance?
Man, it starts with low hanging fruit, being with the entertainment and the relatability of like the movies, man, or the rap songs. They glorify the interim, but you never hear about at the end of the movie the pivot to go a different direction. You hear about the struggle. You always hear about the struggle. You always hear about the pain, and that's the only part people can relate to. You know what I mean? They can't see past the other level because there's levels to it. If you can only see the pain, then I can't talk to you about life after pain because you still in the pain stages of life, and then that's the only thing that's being glorified in our neighborhood. You don't hear people glorifying the success stories. Like Jay-Z is an anomaly, right? Quote unquote made it out, businessman, not a business but a businessman. But he's looked at as an anomaly. 50 Cent right now, he's currently he's a good role model for these kids to look at because a lot of people can relate, and he still stay in touch as far as for touching people online, getting in and out with wordplay, making sure he stays abreast with the culture, and also making films and shows. But he also shows the other side of it as far as for being a businessman, making smart decisions and things of that nature. But the problem is the business aspect and the decisions are not necessarily highlighted. Now, the negativity aspect of it, rolling around in bulletproof, carrying all these type of different weapons, assault weapons, and those things, that's what's highlighted. But not getting out of the life. Look at your little Dirks and everybody and the shit that's going on with them. The things that they make it out of the system and out of the neighborhood, but the highlighted part is going back. And that's the problem is there's so much glorification being still in the environment, but not necessarily making it out of the environment. The plan is not being highlighted, but the act of just being stuck in that environment and then just saying, hey, we can all figure out to either make it happen or make it work in this environment, but not, hey, look, here's the plan, here's the blueprint on how to get out and then do something to be successful. So it's short-sighted. Everything we do is short-sighted, not seeing the forest from the trees.
Things that I relate with. The struggle, how hard it is to individualize yourself within something that is stereotypically demonized as negative, to become your own version of a higher self in a demographic that celebrates nothing but honoring things that don't help your community at all. I can relate to the struggle plates. I can relate to having bills pile up on you and you have your family stressing and struggling trying to figure out how they're going to get all this stuff together. I can understand living in areas where you don't see the same privileges given to you as other areas. I can understand and I can relate to being isolated because you don't walk, talk, or think the same way as everybody else. I can understand trying to be in survival mode. With all that being said, if you find a way to get out of that lifestyle, why would you want to go back to it? Let's say
Well,
I was,
let me say something to you right there, right? Because you asked why would you want to go back to it? Think about times when you sitting around with family, for friends. Could have been yesterday, could be tonight, could be later on tonight. And when you laugh and you joke and you talk about good times, what does those quote unquote good times necessarily consist of? Struggle and pain, right? Oh man, it was messed up back then. It was a good time though. We made the best out of that situation. And those are traumas, man, that we typically revert on back for good memories. We quote unquote call them good times, but we've never talked about or project into the future about future good times. Or hey, look, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Most people don't in that environment. The typical stereotype is dead by 14, 15 to 18. It used to be 18 to 20 when I was a kid, but now it's even younger. But so you talked about the relatability. So I just want to throw that in there when we start talking about relatability and things that you can relate to. Is typically we relate to good times, which was trauma. In actuality, it wasn't necessarily good times.
I see your point. One thing that I hate to see is someone that has so much potential and it gets wasted on a fallacy. Like if someone told me at 5, 6 years old that I was nothing more than a, this or that, and then I just fed off of all of that negativity and I became a street dude or whatever, and that's what my life was for 15, 20 years, and then you get locked up or you get put in a situation where your freedom is taken away from you, I would feel some type of way about that. It's like, who really wants their their walk on this earth to be nothing but struggle and stress?
You got to be careful because a lot of the stuff that you listen to right now is people glorifying that, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the music, just to name a few. Obviously, internet pranks and different things like that. But you got to be careful, man, because who? Shit, man, half the music these kids listen to is glorifying that shit.
And that's the part right there that when I listen to him speak, I'm just happy to see that he found another hobby. There's a million different things out here you can do in the world. Why, if all your options, you choose to spend your life looking over your shoulder, running from the police, um, playing bonanza with your own community, like that's crazy, man.
Word. I agree. But what I don't think it's a choice, right? Well, at some point it is a choice. Let me rephrase that. You're you're brought up in that environment or a environment. Now, two or three things can happen. You can one, you know, all you know is that environment. Two, you can be inquisitive. Now you got the internet. Shit, you got Chat GPT. So it's not really an excuse, because if you don't want to be in that environment, you can ask Chat GPT, develop me a plan or a program on how to get up out of here. Right? I mean, so you got something as simple as that versus back in the day we had an encyclopedia that wasn't helping you out, wasn't talking to you, it wasn't even giving you words that you didn't have, because, you know, it was just strictly black and white and what was in the books. If you even had A through Z, some people had L and J and that was it. But you know what I mean? It's that type of environment that you in. And it's a gift and a curse, man, because you can get online and you can find people that aren't in that environment and you can find ways to get out of it. But you only as good as the resources that you have accessible to you. Does that make sense? So if you don't necessarily have all the resources to enlighten you or open your mind to those different things, then you might just be limited to what you have. And if you're being told family is all you got, blood is thicker than water, and the people that you're around is enabling you to be abused, enabling you to be consistently in this type of environment that doesn't foster any positive affirmations or any positive anything that's going on, then that's all you know. So it's kind of hard to say that as well, but the accesses that you have to school, depending on if you got teachers that are looking out for you. And in this case, somehow he met this gentleman. They didn't say necessarily how, or I might have missed it. But so, you know, it's kind of like a needle in a haystack type of thing. And then the guy just reemphasized as far as following up and that accountability, making sure that the young man threw that joint in the ocean or the lake or the river, so that way that he couldn't get it back, even though he probably could have went and found another friend or another old head to give him another tool or another weapon. But, you know, the accountability that the older gentleman displayed was something that you don't necessarily have. And I think he just kind of got lucky, man, unless it was a family member or a friend of a family member or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Lack of tribe, lack of community, and
Right.
you got the machine pushing out all of this garbage that's basically telling you that your enemy is within your own neighborhood, when really the enemy is higher up the ladder than you actually know it is. You don't understand that. All you know is what you're seeing in your surrounding area, what you see on TV, what you see on these apps. Nobody is really talking to you or telling you these things. And like nobody has the perfect upbringing either. Everybody didn't grow up at the table doing affirmations and doing the kumbaya stuff. I get that too. So
Right.
do you put this on the kids, or do you put this on the adults who should have been more involved in giving them the type of awareness that was required to deal with the conditions that they had to live in? Because I mean, you might not even live in a gated community. You might live in some of the most horrible conditions ever. Your parents or whoever's raising you, they're trying to do what they got to do to get through the weeks and the years and the months. Maybe their attention is divided. Maybe they don't know how to do this and do that. I mean, what's one thing that you've noticed that
This, that well, go ahead, my bad.
one thing that you noticed that is a factor in this particular situation?
I'll say one thing I noticed is that Baltimore has been that way for a while, just like Chicago and a bunch of other places. And what I'll say is in that Baltimore area, You got the Ravens, whatever the hell the baseball team is, what is it, the Orioles or somebody. You got a lot of private organizations around there that are thriving off the community and the people in the community. And I think one of the ways that they could step up and play a more role is get involved into the community. They can do more things as far as, giving back, addressing the current gun asset statistics. In Baltimore, they say 50% of gun crimes are committed by people under 18 years old. Now, the thought is that they've been given the firearms through family members or illegal markets. So they've been getting them from illegal markets, but it's like the young man said, you can probably get it from your brother or somebody else. So I'm sure you can probably find something in the household, something that's probably not as secure as it could be, because as you're teaching somebody how to survive out there on the street, you're also probably teaching them, hey, if something gets to a certain extent and it elevates, here's a resource for you to have. Might not necessarily be the correct resource, but it might be a 9mm or a 45 resource. You know what I'm saying? Teaching them how to necessarily maybe conduct and handle themselves versus there being better programs and things out there. Programs like trades. All the kids out in Baltimore could be going through electricity courses, HVAC courses, different things of that nature. We're talking about guns and all this other shit. And what about the data centers that are coming online in these different places? The gentrification projects that are coming online. So all these other projects that you got out there that you can be standing up and establishing trades for young Black and brown young men and women that are out there. And then it opens up a pipeline for them to have more jobs in the future. You know what I'm saying? Because the data centers and all these things are coming online. So what you're going to need, you're going to need a place for HVAC, heating and cooling, keep those servers cool, keep them warm, electricity be pumped through those data centers. That's taking away other jobs. So again, being proactive versus reactive in the community and, standing up other things that are out there. And if you got a majority of your folks that's doing trades in the Black and brown community, now you can control some things, because if you got a majority of, those people working in, say, utilities, plumbing, they out there fixing toilets, fixing water mains, pipes, different things like that, teaching them how to winterize, little small things that you can be doing and teaching them a little tricks of the trade. So somehow he got involved in photography, but the bad part about that, I won't call it bad, I'll say the ability to relate a known entity and an unknown entity was the switches from the clicks of the damn camera going tick, 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 tick. So that's a good reference point. But then even at some point to teach him how to take his mind off the switching of the semi-automatic fire of the rifle and comparing it to the semi-automatic fire of the Canon shot camera going tick, 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 tick. Because you got to replace that mindset. You're not, right now, the only thing you're doing is swapping out the pistol for a camera. The mindset is still there. So again, it's more than just being shallow. You got to take it deeper. That whole destroy and rebuild process is get rid of that old way of thinking and you building that new way. But if you're taking away that some of the old way and he's still pointing the camera, acting as if it's a weapon and shooting it, that's cute. But that's what kids also did with water guns, little green army men and things like that. So you're still building that culture depending on which trajectory that you're going into. So I think there's lots of ways to do that. You just have to be careful along the way.
Something that we have to take into consideration as well, especially if you're under the age of, just go all the way back to 8, 9, 10 years old. The world as you know it is not what you think it is. A lot of people are in a matrix. The things that you are subscribing to, guess what? There's millions of people sitting at these facilities in front of millions of big projector screens, programs, sending out orders, sending out messages, funneling it out into the rest of the country, specific to target, entice you, and then ensnare you into the point to where you follow a whole entirely different creed of life that is meant for you to be divided completely. You have men and women out here that's sole purpose to keep you broken, and poor. I'll stand by that forever. This ain't a perfect system by far, but to throw a phone in front of your kid's face or just give them a video game and let them sit there for hours and play it as a way of getting them out your face is not the way to go. We need direction. We need confidence. We need to know who we are when we leave out the house. I need to know why I'm going to school. Why am I going in? Why am I doing this for 12 years? Why do I need to study math? And why do I need to understand my history? Why are you making me make my bed up? Why do I have a curfew? Why do you want me to stay away from these type of... That needs to be made completely clear and known. I don't see that too much anymore. I was watching a video earlier, and I'm gonna yield the mic. I was watching a video earlier.
Go ahead.
And they were talking about mentorship and stuff like that. And one particular gentleman, he said that it is a waste of time for someone who is not blood related to try to mentor someone that is no type of kin to them. That stuck with me.
Why? Tell me why it stuck with you. It good or bad?
Well, I was indifferent about it because his position was it doesn't matter how good of a person you are or how good your intentions are if that child already has parents, then the odds of them really listening to you is probably not that high. So you're kind of just wasting your time. So I looked at that like it was a negative.
Okay. Negative in what sense? Like, if you don't mind me asking.
Because I don't believe, because you can have horrible ass parents.
Or right.
Like shit, they could be just doing the bare minimum just to get by themselves. And you might have somebody at school that's a better parental figure to you than they are themselves. So that's why I'm like, man, I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I hear what you don't know, bro.
I hear what you're saying, but nah.
Yeah, you got to be careful, man, because you don't know what his angle was, right? His angle could have been trying to manipulate somebody into not listening to somebody who was not family and was probably advising them of something, you know what I mean, that was more beneficial. Yeah, and that's the thing, man, is this whole family and blood, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. And it seems like we keep saying this, and that seems to be a recurring theme. Is the world we live in today? Family is everybody has their own definition of family. I'll just say people that I would want to be around me will be people that are one, holding me accountable. You know what I mean? Two, they want to be held accountable also. Because the problem is, man, is what you have. What happens is you find people find themselves isolated because they may want to be they may live a certain life. I might say, listen, man, I'm about accountability. I want you to hold me accountable. I want to make sure I meet my objectives. I want to I'm about balance. And some people may just want to be told that what they're doing is right all the time. Some people don't want to be wrong. Some people they aren't open to constructive criticism. Some people aren't open to being around new groups. And that's what happens is you find yourself not being open to new groups. So you're shut off. And this kind of goes with what we were talking about earlier with the young man is being relatable. Being relatable is cool, but that doesn't mean that necessarily allows you the opportunity for growth because you typically grow in discomfort and you're not comfortable around people that you can't necessarily relate to. Initially, anyway, because you have to, that's when questions start to happen. And the questions occur when you're trying to establish some type of rapport. And that's when you kind of necessarily going back and forth and exchanging conversation. And you're kind of deciding on whether you want to continue to engage in conversation or you're kind of deciding if you want to continue to engage. And this is the type of crowd that you're interested in. But if you're saying just because by the sheer fact that we are a family by blood, then nothing can be relatable, then you already kind of manipulating and picking and choosing the environment that you want to be in. And that's probably somebody you should run from. As they say nowadays, that's probably a red flag. So.
Yeah. The level of emotional and mental stress and anguish that a person has to go through not to be able to fix it or address it properly is very tasking. I mean, here you are around 6, 7, 8 years old, and you see a bunch of traffic going in and out of your house. You have no other choice but to adjust and adapt to it the best way you know how. And you grow up in this area that you have no idea has basically been designed to be that way. Like these locations that we go to and drive through and we tell people don't go visit and tour, stay in this part of the city, stay on, all of that stuff was set up that how do you get someone out of, well, all right, solution based. How do you get somebody who is in a situation where this is their conditions, they need an outlet. I know that they can probably go to somebody at school or they could pick up a phone. What's the odds of that? How do you, or what would your advice be for someone that's that young, conflicted and confused about how they're supposed to move when all they have been ever told is this is what you get?
I'll speak from personal experience. You know, being young, it was more or less told, hey, you'll never be shit. You know, you'll be dead before you're 18. You know what I mean? Lots of stuff like that. For me, it was fuel. Um, it was fuel for the fire. I use it as something to burn inside of me to continue to strive and move forward. But at the same time, inadvertently, that's something that gave me, I had zero respect for people in authority. Now, that's not saying that it was right. The problem was at an early age, somebody being in an authority figure in my life telling me I wasn't going to be shit, I'd be dead by the time I was 18. It made me not look or trust anybody negative or that didn't see the glass as being half full. So for me, instantly, it's an instant turnoff, and that's probably a trigger still to me. 40 years later, is not liking negativity, because if the first thing out of your mouth is complaining, or you don't see a benefit just to being alive, just the fact that you got air pumping through your lungs, and you have nothing but negative shit to say, that's a trigger for me, right? So I don't even want to be around somebody that's like that. So at an early age, I naturally gravitated towards other people that was out there striving and trying to get it. A little bit different, 40 years ago versus it is today, because you had back in the day, we had levels of people. You had people that was successful. You had people that might have just got high. You had people that you go hoop, or if you had played a sport, that people that didn't make it to the league or didn't play necessarily organized ball, but it was like park legends and shit. You know what I'm saying? You had different categories of people. Right now, everybody's a fucking pill head. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's popping pills, getting high. Ain't nobody really got no ambitions on doing anything, maybe posting a few videos, and that's about it. But back then, everybody was trying to figure something out. So it's a little bit different. The demographic is different. So I definitely say that you should definitely lean on people that are not just family, because you're limiting yourself to other resources, man. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, again, I mentioned this a couple of days ago about the value within yourself, and identifying if somebody wants to use some of your characteristics and values. At the age of 6, if you got something to offer or not. Because right now, these youngins are raised on tablets, social media, so they naturally have an instinct to pick up on things a little bit faster than we did. And those are things that you can identify with. And then I think what happens is the person that's around that sees the playing field, that's when they pick and choose, like that young man, hey, we're going to keep a pistol in your hand, or we're going to educate you about these things because you can be a valuable asset. And obviously he proved that he was. The ambition to constantly learn about weapons, get a new weapon. I mean, he sounds like a brilliant young man, but then somebody saw the ability, like you just said, somebody saw the capabilities within him to say, you know what, hey man, this ain't a good look. You got the go-getter, you got the wherewithal to get up, get out, keep doing this over and over and over. Let's change the pistol for something that you like, whether, however they came to grips with being a Canon 18.6 and he taking pictures or whatever, that's a backstory. But the fact that he was able to figure that out and then hone in on those skills and then try to get him to understand, hey, you ain't shooting people, but you can still shoot your shot with this Nikon 36.5. You know what I'm saying? So again, and that's the ability in some of the old heads or the people with the experience. Remember, we talked about experience a lot, that E word. When you have experience and you can see the playing field and you can see everything in totality, you can say, okay, I can see the spunk in this little person. I can see this person got some get up and go get them about themselves. I'm not going to make him a runner. We're not going to make him a hitter. You know what I mean? He's not going to be a shooter, but we can get him out here to go find something else to do, a different trajectory. And with that same tenacity, he can go probably be the best cameraman in Baltimore versus the best 8, 9, 10-year-old shooter and not have to worry about going to jail because he's under the age of 18, have to worry about getting things expunged, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, it goes with that common sense and good judgment, that street mentality. What the old heads used to see people who had skills, you can shoot, you play football, they would redirect you from being on the block to go do something more productive with your life. And it sounds like, that gentleman is cut from that cloth a little bit, and it's not enough of them around in certain neighborhoods because of how they may or may not have been weaved in and out of the system to be around to help out the young folks that's, straying and need a little guidance. If that makes any sense.
Nah, I get it. The ones that went to jail, they already lived the life that you did, or you're on the road to living and they're trying to stop you from it. If they get a chance to get out and breathe the fresh air again, or they've been completely wiped off the planet and we don't have that many of them left.
Right.
Not to mention, on top of that, they're trying to emasculate men in general by saying everything's toxic masculinity.
Facts.
Like, what are we doing here with that? You're telling me that what we've been doing all our life now is just awful. It's a detriment to the society. We're a threat to all women. We're a threat to everybody who comes into contact with us. If we have a little bravado, if we have stoicism, if we're confident, if we don't want to follow suit to something that we don't agree with, now all of a sudden all of this stuff is negative and it has to be watered down.
Right.
Systematic. It's very much like a 5-step program of how you want to eradicate the nuclear household.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well said. That's the biggest issue, right? Because like you can't even have a conversation and then somebody will bring up some shit like you're mansplaining. I don't even know what that means. But the fact of the matter is that you're trying to explain yourself, which is a form of communication, and now they're labeling it as something and minimizing it and saying, well, I don't want to hear it because you're mansplaining. Okay. Well, what the hell are you supposed we do in order to engage this conversation anymore so that there's some understanding on both parts of it? Or you just supposed to concede and say, you know what, fine, I don't have any feelings or any say-so whatsoever on the situation. We'll just let you handle it. And then you have a 6-year-old African-American male out there picking up pistols and learning how to engage in urban warfare and combat because you're trying to, like you just mentioned, emasculate the man in the situation and not take into consideration the shit that he's talking about. So, yeah, I think you got to be careful on how that goes. Be careful to the trends that's going on, and or you'll be subjective to the same shit just kind of happening and reoccurring with no resolve over and over again.
What do you say to a group of folks that use this terminology? Personally, I do want to say, learn the definitions before you start associating them with people, places, and things. Like, the one word that I hear a lot of is, it's toxic masculinity.
Right.
And then the other one is misogyny. I hear those way too much.
Right.
We have to be very specific and detailed with our arguments or how we express ourselves. Stop trying to take away freedom of speech. Stop telling people that they can't express themselves, man or woman. Just like
Right.
you're trying to limit men from speaking. Wow, but you're also telling men you don't express yourself enough. You're why don't you open up to me? Why you won't? But then as soon as we open up or we say something, it's used or is weaponized against us. What do you want?
Right.
I believe we're usually problem solvers. We want to hear what's going on and we want to know, all right, well, how do we fix this? How do we go forward with damage control or solving whatever is in front of us? Nobody wants to sit there for an hour, 3 hours going back and forth over something without bringing it to a conclusion, however that may be. And if you want more men to step in and be role models, if you want to see any type of change with these kids, then first of all, we need more unity in the house. We need more unity in the communities. All this, I didn't see nothing, so I'm not going to say nothing. That got to stop. You're just as much liable for somebody that is, if a kid purse snatched somebody and they ran right past you and you don't say or do nothing about it, guess what? You're just as guilty as the kid is. You could have hit, you could have, I'm not saying put yourself in harm's way. You could get shot. I'm saying, well, you could say something. You could call authorities. You could, you just, all this, I don't see nothing, so I'm not going to say, no. We need more accountability.
Nah, yeah, you're right, man, and that's the unfortunately that's the way of the culture right now. Is you got one side of the spectrum saying see something, say something. The other side of the spectrum is calling everybody Karens and not wanting to involve themselves. But if you don't involve yourself and you don't speak up, then how do you plan to, rectify or fix the issues? And the only way to fix the issues is by identifying, like you just said, accountability. And it's so funny because again, right, we talk about the old times. Oh man, families aren't the same when the grandmoms are not around, or when the old parents fall, no longer around. Things aren't the same. But those are the ones they used to call shit out. They used to call it how it was. You wouldn't dare be caught lacking or something like that. You know what I mean? You wouldn't dare show up, in pajamas and some crazy ass house shoes, looking all, buffoonery on a holiday, and just doing all kinds of things because they would tighten you up, straighten you out, and then they would tighten your mama up, tighten your dad up, your uncle up, everybody be in there, heels together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just getting the business, but at one point you'll say things ain't the same when those people aren't around. Is it because they used to cook meals? They didn't pass on recipes? What is it that you so disgruntled about that ain't the same? Because when you try to go and hold the course of holding people accountable and let's carry on the lineage of us making sure we take care of each other the way they did. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Who the fuck you think you are? Who deputized you? You know what I'm saying? So you can't have your cake and eat it too. 1 minute you want things a certain way and the next minute you don't. So it just kind of, again, goes back, as they say, if you standing 10 toes down and you always being accountable and you holding people accountable, then that's when, again, we keep talking about still sharpen steel, because you wouldn't come around unless you had your stuff together. So why do you? It should be insulting that somebody will come around you and they don't have their things together, and they think you aren't going to say anything. They come over and they said they was going to do something and didn't do it, and they come around you and they know you're not going to say something. That should be insulting, because that means they don't respect the fact that you quote unquote have standards, right? You don't have any standards around you. You're not holding anybody accountable. So if you don't have any standards, that means you're willing to accept anything. If you're willing to accept anything, then you're probably not going to be successful in the things that you're doing. And those people are comfortable being around you, knowing that you're just going to allow those bare minimum of things to happen. And if you don't learn how to reject mediocrity, then how do you plan to move forward? And if sometimes people don't plan to move forward, then that's why that communication comes into play. And then that's when it becomes a blood is thicker than water type thing, because you necessarily aren't hanging around people with similar interests. So it just kind of goes off into a diving board into deeper things. But, you know, again, you got to have that solid foundation. And that solid foundation, now you're going to build a good infrastructure. And then now you're going to continue to be able to build. But if you don't have a good solid foundation, then you shouldn't be trying to build anything.
These kids got dreams and hopes, or they want to have a reason to live. They want to be excited about something. They you're making kids adults way too soon. They're growing up way too fast. You should not be 7, 8 years old paying utilities. You shouldn't even know about skin magazines and adult content at that age. They seeing way too much. A lot of that crap got to get limited. But that's not going to happen because, well, the market demands it. And as long as the market demands it, you can't stop it. You can only filter it. I'm glad that brother found somebody and somebody reached out to him. We need more of it. I hope we see more of it. I'm tired of these rappers dying 20 years old, 21 years old, 16 years old. Like, nobody wants to keep on turning on the TV, or every time you scroll, it's not. Come on, we gotta do better than that. There's a reason why it keeps happening. There's a cry for help. I don't think that a single one of these kids out here wants to be out here or wanted to be out there. It's always, I didn't have no choice. This is what I was given. This is what. Well, why didn't someone else show you that? Nah, that's not true at all. That's a lie. Someone lied to you. Who told you all you were good for was being in the street? Who told you as a black man or a black woman all you were good for is guns, drugs, pregnancies, and rap? Who said you couldn't be a surgeon or a photographer or a writer? Who said you couldn't be an officer? Who said you couldn't be a firefighter? Who told you that you were limited to your neighborhood or limited to your conditions? Who told you that your mindset had to stay the way that it was for the rest of your life? Who? Ask yourself, who's talking to you? Who are you having these conversations with?
Those are good questions, man. I say the better question is, why haven't anybody told them that they are good for those things? because you're right, man. Who told you that? But who educated you that you were good for those things? I'll give you an example, man. I sent Boosie a message on TikTok, random as hell, because his shit popped up on my feed. I said, hey, man, I like what you're doing in the community. Let's connect, man, and get together, build a youth program, and we can provide some coaching. This dude sent me a message saying, all right, bet, send me 50 grand, we can lock in. I sent him my website, everything. So I was like, okay, if it's him or his team, I'm not sure if they really understood the message. Then he replied back and said, hey, it's for the youth, man. Let's lock in for 10 grand. You're going to charge me 10 grand to give it back to the community. I'm trying to help you out. Let's do a collaboration. You know what I'm saying? Because you say you're trying to do things, for the youth. He's talking about building his, his neighborhood and all the things that he's doing on social media. And those things are great. But I was just reaching out like, hey, man, let's do a collaboration, man, and give back to the community. Send me a fucking bill talking about for $10,000 to work with the youth. So again, it ain't that people are saying that you can't do these things, but here you are given an opportunity or a platform to try to just to educate, and the mindset is not even in the right place. So if these, and then it's probably shame on me for reaching out to these people, but I just saw an opportunity and I was like, hey, we can collab and do some stuff. And I'm thinking like, in my mind, all we gotta, everybody just, just show up and contribute, obviously get together, formulate a plan, et cetera, et cetera. But off the strength, I just got a tab for like 50 grand and then for 10 grand. So I'm like, you know what, man? Again, you talking about who's telling these people they can't. Here it is, you watch people on social media and it looks like they're quote unquote doing something for the community, and then you reach out and try to do a collaboration. And then it turns out to be a money grab or some other thing. So do we really care about the community, or do we care about lining our pockets? You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to say anything about it, but it was yesterday. So it bothered me all day yesterday. And I just replied back, hey, brother, enjoy the rest of your holiday. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even go back and forth because, it was no reason to. It was like, man, you couldn't even see the opportunity within the text message or the text thread. And I mean, granted, man, I'm not taking nothing against these people, man. I'm sure they probably working and got all kinds of stuff going on. But if you got social media, you would think the appropriate people will handle your social media so that when opportunities come in, they can be properly vetted. And then you, like you just said, you can relay a good enough response. You know what I mean? Good, bad, or indifferent, whether it's a nonprofit, you fulfilled your obligations for the year, whatever the case may be. But like we're having a topic now, and just when you ask the questions, nobody said to do any of those things, but nobody's out there championing on the behalf of these folks. Nobody's out there championing on behalf of these kids. The nonprofits that are out there, the NGOs, the non-global organizations, all these things that's out there, all this grant money that's out there. You talk about all these organizations that's supposed to be, quote unquote, helping these communities. Where is it at? I don't see any of it. So then again, it goes back to when we start talking about the community. What's the objective, man? What's the goal? Everybody talking about how they want to give back and they want to do these things. There's plenty of ways to do it. They got NGOs giving out millions of dollars throughout Africa, Romania, all these other places outside the continental United States. And we right here in the United States, and all these quote unquote actors, movie stars, and all these people in the limelight ain't doing shit but applying shitty publicity and promotion for people to talk about on social media. So that's why our neighborhoods are suffering, man. The people that out here can be doing the difference and contributing, they don't give a fuck. That's the reality of it, man. They don't give a fuck. And they out here doing stuff on social media to better their brand, which is completely up to them because we live in America. they have small businesses and organizations, they can completely do that. But when you got a 6-year-old in Baltimore talking about how he getting access to all these weapons and all these different things, it's time to have a different conversation.
I could have told you that shit. Shit.
I'm new to this shit, man. I'm just learning, brother.
Look, them niggas don't give a fuck about us, man. Shit. They just want to look good. They want to give the illusion that they care. Shit. That shit. They hiding behind doing nice things for people, but they really be some of the grimiest people.
Right. Tax write-offs and all that other stuff.
All that, yeah.
For sure. I get it, man. But, again, you try to be out here and have these conversations, man, and be positive. And at the end of the day, man, these people just don't give a shit, man. We out here trying to make a difference, man. The small guys on the block and, with the things they do for tax write-offs, et cetera, is I just think at the end of the day, man, you just got to start calling people to the carpet, man. Fuck all these street codes and all this mentalities. Nobody care about none of that, man. You ain't doing nothing with that. You ain't benefiting nobody but yourselves. We got people out here that's hurting, and they need to start giving back to the community, man. Pumping in the people that's trying to help the youth, pumping in the people that's trying to give back and make a better cause, man, a better situation. And when we start talking about why we aren't going in the right direction, it's because of them fools, man.
You know when you're going to hear from them? You're going to hear from them when you get in rotation. Once that buzz is there and they see that you doing numbers, then someone from PR is going to say, hey, look over here. Yeah. Right. Then your name is going to matter. Until then, you better off doing all of this the old-fashioned way. That's why I don't even be tripping off of that shit, because as far as I'm concerned, all of them full of shit, and I wouldn't even want to work with none of them, quite frankly. There's too much drama. There's too many negative eyes on them from all areas, including inside of their own circle. I wouldn't even tamper around with that. I would rather build it from the ground up. At least I know I trust this person. I trust that person. Nobody here has an agenda. This is really about what it's supposed to be about. Nah, I'm cool.
Nah, for sure. I definitely understand that, brother. I was just like you said last night, you were scrolling. I think I was scrolling and he popped up on my feed. And I was just like, yo, what's up, Playboy? Hey, this is what I do. You know what I mean? You talking about how you trying to make a difference in the community. And then he slapped me in the face talking about, hey, give me 50. I was like, what? Push-ups? You know what I'm saying? 50K to log in. I was like, oh, hell no, man. All right, you know what? Never mind. The whole email went over your head, brother. Let's just enjoy your holiday, man, and keep it moving. But anyway, the point wasn't, the beat on that. It was just to say that, just trying different things out there, man. Throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. And all we can do, man, is build programs, man. And they say if you build it, they'll come. So just keep, putting out that positive energy and trying to, promote good things within the neighborhood and within the community, man, and just try to make a difference like you said, from the ground up. So, absolutely.
Dope show tonight, man. I hope somebody got something out of it. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Arcana. Yeah, I'm proud of that young brother. I hope he stays the course. I would love to see more stories like that on my timeline.
Right.
Man,
it'd be good to get a follow-up, man. You know what I mean? If somebody know what's going on out there in Baltimore, I mean, I know you in that area, man. Maybe even, just touch in tap in with the news folks who reported the story. Just say, yo, give us a follow up, man. See where that young boy at. See what's his trajectory. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Share
right.
some of his pictures and stuff. You know, some of his actual artwork was, you know, see if he got some talent or he just out there, you know, talking crazy. Either way, but it'd be definitely, you know, get a good follow up and see how you doing. That's a good story to follow up on, man. You know, especially, you know, from trading in guns to cameras, man. You can't beat that.
Facts, facts. Well, look, man, we about to get up out of here, y'all. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening, and your weekends as well. Just in case I don't chop it up with y'all. If I do, you already know how to lock in. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I think we out.
Yeah, all right, man. Be easy. Appreciate you, baby.
All right, y'all. Do me a solid before y'all go.
What's the goddamn button?
Peace.